Okay. This afternoon, what we have here is we have some carrots, and we have egg. We have some peas, what we call green peas. We have green peas. Then we have some potatoes. Yes. So we're going to be making lunch for Splendor. Splendor is 12 months old already, but then she started having these kind of meals when she was about 5 months, you know. So you can see that carrots is not something that you cannot get easily. It is easily accessible. You can get it anywhere. And I will shock you by saying that I bought this carrot for just 50 naira. You can see how beautiful the carrot is looking. And then the peas as well, I got it for just 50 naira. And then the potatoes, you can get potatoes for as low as 100 naira, 200 naira, whatever. And you're not going to use them once. And then the egg, we know how much we buy our eggs. You can get eggs for 40, 50, even 30 naira, you know. So with small money, you can actually make something very healthy for your baby, you know, a very nutritious food for your baby. So I believe that you followed me when I was doing all of the processing. So now we're going to just steam the food. We're going to boil everything. We're not going to pour everything in at once because they all take different time to get done. So we're going to start with the potatoes. First, I'm going to wash or rinse my pots. I like to use very small pots to make Splendor's meal. So I'm going to rinse my pots, and the potatoes are already cut and washed, properly washed. So I'm going to just put a few of these in the pot. She's going to be taking this meal, let's say 2 times, not just once. So I think this is okay for a 2 times meal. So I add a bit of water. Then I cover it. Then straight to the fire. I'm going to be cooking this for like, let's say 7 minutes. So I'm going to be cooking this first. When this is well cooked, then I'm going to add the other ingredients. For the egg, you're not going to add the egg. Since the egg is already boiled, we have boiled egg here. So you're not going to add the egg, or you're not going to be cooking the egg with the other things. So I'll set that aside. But we're going to be cooking this and this. But then we need the potatoes to soften up a bit to get well cooked before we add the vegetables. We're not going to add the vegetables alongside the potatoes because if we do, we're going to be losing a lot of nutrients. You know, vegetables don't require too much heat. They don't require too much cooking, just to steam them up a bit so that you can have, you know, all the nutrients still intact by the time you're feeding your baby. So I just want to leave this for a few minutes to get cooked. Okay, so the potatoes are ready. They are well cooked already, so we're just going to add this. You can see that we don't have too much water in the pot anymore. I used to like it like this because if you put too much water, then the sweetness will be lost. The sweetness will be lost, so don't put too much water, just enough water to get it cooked. So if need be, that if you would need to add more, then you can add more water. So I've put in the peas. Now I'm going to put in the carrots. Remember I told you that this one shouldn't stay too long. So they shouldn't cook for too long because they are veggies. If they cook for too long, then they would lose most of its nutrients. So I'm just going to leave it like this for maybe 1 minute or at most 2 minutes. It seems as if we're going to need a bit of water. So just some water in it. Yeah, that does it. and then we'll cover it. Some people would add butter in it. If you have butter, then it's fine. You can add butter in it. Just a teaspoon of butter is okay. But if you don't have butter, please don't buy margarine. Don't add margarine in it, because too much fat is not actually good for babies too. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. You know how people will say that a lot of fat here and there, good fat I mean, is good for you, but then the bad fat contains, is high in cholesterol, so you don't want that for your baby. So if you don't have butter, butter like the KTC, President, whatever, those kind of butter, if you don't have it, then just skip it. You don't have to add butter. But if you do, just a teaspoon would be fine in it. So we're going to cover this and allow it to cook for, say, 1 minute or 2. So when this is cooked, then we're going to have everything in here. If you have a food processor, then you can use a food processor. But don't let that deter you from feeding your baby the right way. If you do not have a food processor, my friend, you can use your blender. As you can see, I'm using my blender. This is a regular blender. This is my kitchen blender. This is blender that I would use to blend my tomatoes and my peppers and everything, So I'm just going to wash it properly and be sure that, ensure that it is really clean and ready for use. Now we're going to put in the egg, but then we're not going to be using the egg whites. For now, my baby is not using the egg white. We're feeding her only the yolk. We've been doing that for since she was 6. Okay, so we're going to be using the egg yolk. It goes without saying that the egg yolk is highly nutritious. Sometimes they advise that you start feeding your baby with the egg yolk and not the egg white, because some babies may develop allergies, from feeding them with the egg white. So when you are very sure that she's not reacting or he's not reacting to the egg yolk, and then you can now, introduce the egg white in bits, just tiny bits like that. So we're going to just rinse this and take out the yolk straight into the blender. If the yolk gets, what's the word now? Broken. If the yolk gets broken along the line, don't mind, because after all, you're still going to be blending it. So I'll just keep this. Joanne likes to eat the egg white a lot, so I'll just keep that for her. And then I'll turn the gas off, and then I get my potatoes, the veggies, everything is ready. So I'll just put it straight into the blender. Remember, I told you that if you don't have a food processor, that's okay, So you put this into the blender. When you add butter, my God, this thing smells heavenly. Even if the baby doesn't want to eat, when the baby perceives this food, I tell you, the baby will eat it. I hear lots of mothers complain that their babies don't eat. It depends on what you feed your baby. If you feed your baby well, nobody hates good thing, I tell you. If you feed your baby well, your baby will eat. I've had friends come to me and they say, that food you gave me the other day, my baby ate it. And I'll say, yes, who doesn't like good thing? Feed them well, they will eat. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this water in it so that it can help blend it properly. So I put a little at a time. But in case you do not have water, in case all the water dries up when you are cooking, then you add very clean water. Whatever water your baby is taking, if it is bottled water, then you add a bit of that. If it is sachet water, then you add a bit of that. But try not to add water from the tap, except of course you are very sure that the tap water is entirely clean, or you drink the tap water is drinkable, because after the blending we don't cook again. So I'm just going to take this straight. I'm just going to blend this now. I'll put this on and then I'll blend it. So you can see that it stopped, and then what it means is that we have to put a little more water, in order to help it blend properly. So I'm going to add the rest of the water. I don't think this will be enough, so I'm going to add her water. For now, she's taking this, but I tell you, you can put any water that you are comfortable with, any water you give your baby. So I'm just going to put a bit of this in it, and then I cover it. And then I blend again. So it's doing that again. It means that we'll still have to add more water to it. This is good because at the end of the day, if your baby is so hungry, you don't have to wait for the food to get cold. The water will just help it to have the temperature you want. So we'll blend again. I have to mention this, that you have to be patient while blending because it has to be very smooth. Well, you want to have a good texture because if it's not smooth, so babies will reject it. You just see them making the face at you. They'll be bringing out the whole thing. So if it has seeds, lumps, they will not take it. It is not smooth. So you want to make it very smooth. So you have to exercise patience. You go again. So we are good. It's very smooth. Can you see it? I just remembered something. There was a day Grandma came by and I asked Grandma to help me feed my baby, you know. So after feeding her, I mentioned something about the food I gave my baby, and then Grandma was like, I thought it was pap. Was it not pap? I said, no, Grandma, it wasn't pap. Then I started mentioning what it was. She was like, oh, I didn't know. I actually thought it was pap. So you see, you can have something of this constituency for your baby. You know, sometimes look at how the whole thing started. You would say, how do you feed a baby this? How do you feed a baby that? Let me rinse this. Even a 4-month-old can tolerate this, I tell you. Can you see how smooth it is? A 4-month-old can tolerate this. You can give this to a 4-month-old baby. Although they used to advise that we wait till 6 months before we feed our babies, you know, before we introduce meals to our babies. Whatever the case is, you are in the best position to know if your baby is set, you know, for to introduce other things to your baby. So, but I'm just saying that they can actually tolerate this. It's just potatoes, veggies, and egg. But it's good that you feed your baby one thing at a time, so that if there's any reaction, you would know what the cause of the reaction is, and then you quickly stop it. So you don't introduce too many things to a baby at a time. So you go slowly, because after all, they are kids. Okay, so we're going to just go and feed Splendor now. Come on.